And we are back to what I believe is or will be the last episode of the Creative Conduit for 2025, which it's exciting for multiple different reasons. I want to correct myself on two things. One, I think last episode I said I had an itch in my throat and whatever was going around. I'm sure I didn't have. Well, I lied. I didn't know I was lying at the time, but I did, or I currently have it. It's whatever it is. It's affecting my throat, and I'm coughing. So pardon my cough throughout this recording. And I got called out. I'm not gonna name names, but you know who you are. And two, I said last episode that the last one was going to be the final one for the year. I guess I also lied because here we are again recording this one. There's a few things I want to talk about, and I enjoy this space to be able to talk and have these conversations with you. So I'm looking forward to this one because it's the last one for the year. But here we are. We're going to start off how we always start off, an exercise in mindfulness. 10 breaths. Focus on your breath. I prefer your eyes closed. Starting now. We're here, and now that we are, we're gonna do the thing that we always do to start these off. It's a puzzle, brain teaser. This one I have for you is: I'm not alive, but I grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. Air. I don't have a mouth, but water kills me. What am I? This conversation is interesting for multiple reasons. Not only because it is the last one that we're going to have, or the last time, at least for the new year, that we're going to have this. It gives us an opportunity to, one, reflect on the year, and then two, prepare for what next year is or will be. And it's always interesting because I don't know if I've ever talked about it on one of these episodes, but rarely do I give myself the opportunity to almost like self-reflect, like intentionally. Like I think, like a lot of people, reflection happens like in the moment or on demand for me. But I don't. There's only one time in the year that I consciously make an effort to sit down and reflect on who I am, what I represent, and everything that is important to me, and whether or not I'm in alignment with what I believe my purpose is, and why it is that I'm here and I continue to live out whatever that thing is. And that particular day is on my birthday, which is not the end of the year. It's somewhere like it's in the month of September. So one time a year I actually get that opportunity. And then two, so I feel like after that reflection or whatever comes from that, I'm able to make adjustments intentionally. And I'm not talking about like adjustments on the fly, which I think I do a lot. I'm not one of those people who wait till the new year or the end of the year to put together resolutions. And maybe that's a part of, or that's one of the things that we're going to discuss today, which I'm looking forward to. But I think because we've had a creative year, and how you define creativity or how creative you were, is subjective, and it'll be less about the output of it and more about the creative process itself, where we are, where we were, where we will be. And I want to take this opportunity for us to kind of reflect on that. And a lot has happened over the last year creatively. for me. And depending on how long you've been listening, I highlighted a lot of those things throughout the conversations at the time that they were happening. A lot of these episodes and the space that we've created, a lot of the topics are real-time happenings, and I was never shy about sharing a lot of those things because I feel like we're family. I think if you're listening to this, we have a few things in common. We both have an affinity and a connection to our creativity, and we like honest conversations. We find comfort in vulnerable spaces. There's a few things that I can list that makes that to identify or at least highlight the commonalities that exist between us. But I am who I am because you are special, and I appreciate you for this. But thinking about the creative journey over the last year, I can think of when I think of creativity now, because I have a lot going on in my life. There's multiple aspects of creativity that I can highlight in this moment. I can talk about creativity from an academia standpoint, in the position I hold. I can talk about creativity from a more professional standpoint in the sense of like my businesses, and I can talk about creativity in my personal life. And I think as much as that creativity comes from the same individual, in this case myself, I can honestly say that the creative outputs in each one of those feel different because they serve different purposes. They're intended for different audiences, and a huge part of creativity is the selflessness that we talked about. And I've had wins, and in conversation I always tell people that success for me is not measured by my accomplishments. It's measured by the process and then the impact that it has. And I've learned a lot about myself over the last year, specifically about my creativity. I remember when I was doing all this studying about creativity and the impact of it, and pardon me, I think you might be able to hear that car passing with all the music. Yeah. So I did a lot of thinking about like creativity and the impact of it. And for me, when I think of like my creative journey and how I measure it, I realized that one of the things that I understood about humans and their creativity is there's a huge learning and a huge part of the creative process that is triggered by incomplete things, work of art, products, opportunities. I think we are naturally inclined to want to complete things. I think human beings have a connection to the idea of completion, whether unconsciously or subconsciously. And I feel like in our minds, when we see incomplete things, we are naturally like encouraged or naturally inclined to want to complete them. And I've thought about that in multiple different ways. Like I've thought about how I can trigger creativity in that same at how I could teach and hone in on creativity based on the idea of incompletion. And I have not only a theory, I've implemented a particular solution, but that's neither here nor there. The point of that story is the fact that creativity, there's gifts that come from completed creative work and also incomplete creative work. Because if we're going to spend time reflecting on the year past, I want us to give ourselves the grace that we need to understand that even the incomplete works were satisfying, that they were purposeful and they served that purpose, and just as much as the completed work. And what I realized over this year, that who I am and what I've become was less about what I created or the output from that creativity, but more about my evolution as a creative individual, as a person in pursuit of their creativity. I think my growth over the last year has been the most rewarding and most recognizable aspect of me. I set out with multiple goals in mind, and there were some creative acts that I think, if I'm honest, I may have bit off more than I could chew. But in it, and in the pursuit of it, I was able to find myself and watch myself grow, and allow myself the leniency to be able to be human. And I want the same for you guys as you sit back and you reflect on what the last 365 days were. I think, and as you tally and you look back and you reflect on all your creative accomplishments and endeavors and missteps and mistakes, I want you to see it as a part of the process and a part of the journey, not as losses for the mistakes or the mishaps, more lessons, and see the production and the outputs and the things that were successful as just reminders that you have the ability to succeed, and to achieve success is not outside of the realm of, or you're not, there's no limit to your capabilities. Like, success is and can and will be associated with you, and those are just reminders that is in fact true. And I want us to, and also in this reflection, to realize that, acknowledge the things that were our catalyst, that encouraged us, that motivated us, that we found inspiration in, and see how much of those things that we can carry into the new year. I think we did an episode on inspiration and whether or not we needed it for creativity. And can we create an absence of inspiration? And I think we settle on this idea that yes and no. I think there's no one way to be creative, and there's no one way for that creativity to take shape or form. And some of it can come from inspiration, and others can just literally just pop out of nowhere. But at any rate, it's about identifying those things that amplified your creativity, your creative energy, amplified your creative output, and then allowing yourself to create space for those things to exist around you, with frequency, with some level of consistency, so they're constantly there and available whenever you need it. And if those things are true and you want to create space for that, then you also need to identify the things that no longer serve you, the things that may have gotten in the way of your creativity, may have been a hindrance. I don't want to say an obstacle, because for a lot of us as creative, we need obstacles and limitations or restrictions in order for us to kind of live out or experience or see the full extent of our creative prowess and abilities. So it's not all bad, but there are some that, if you're honest with yourself, it's not necessary and it's not good. And this is an opportunity to identify those things as well, and make a conscious effort to make sure that you don't carry those things with you. They don't serve you. They don't serve your creativity. And we have attachments to things that may not necessarily serve us. We have attachments to people that may not necessarily serve us. We have attachments to moments that are no good for us. And we have to come to a point that those things should only exist now in memory. And I'm not to say that they are not valuable anymore, but in creativity, we tap into our memory and history and past experiences, and they will be the source of inspiration at some point in the future. May not be immediately, and that spark can come at any time, but they've served their purpose. And it's okay to move on from those things. And that compiling that list and thinking about those things that positively impact and comparing them to the ones that negatively, and then deciding to not take the negative in. Some of you might argue that some of the good things may be too good, and too much of a good thing is sometimes bad. And maybe there's certain things that seem good now that maybe you're conscious and you're self-aware enough to realize that maybe I shouldn't take this into the new year with me. And this is not going to help me, especially not creatively. And what I want for you in the new year is to be the best version of your creative self. I want for everyone that is listening here to find fun and playfulness in themselves. Bring it back into their creativity, curiosity, the idea of exploration, challenging ideas and thoughts and concepts, pushing the boundaries of possibilities. I want all those things for you, but I also understand that between now and the time the new year comes, there's an opportunity for you to rest. And as much as the R that is synonymous with the end of the year, the two R's is reflection and resolution. In between those things, there's rest. And I think you should find time to do that. Maybe you don't have a full week to do it. Maybe you don't have a few days. Maybe you don't have a full day. But I encourage you to find time to be able to rest and reset. Because I want you to feel rejuvenated as you make your way into the new year. Think about the resolutions. Think about, I'm a big fan of like manifestation and not only seeing but actively working towards and pursuing the things and creating a life that you want for yourself. And as you think about that, think about what a creative how does that life look when injected with your creativity? How can you amplify that life? And whatever that vision appears to be, that's what I want for you in the new year. I wish for you creativity in abundance. I wish for you opportunity in abundance. Inspiration without limit. motivation that is self-energizing. I wish for you creativity. I will say this as I end. And again, part by my voice and my throat. This new year is about intentionality. It's no longer about pressure. I think we all have high expectations for ourselves, and we're not pressured to necessarily see them through, because that is just what is expected of us. And I don't think that having high expectations for yourself is pressure. I want to say that you know yourself well enough to know what you can and cannot bear. There's no guarantees on what the new year will bring. And there's no guarantee that what you believe should be yours will be yours. But I can guarantee that if you continue to show up and commit to showing up as your full self, as your creative self, you'll not only find opportunities, you're going to make the best of those opportunities. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for the space that we've created. A year has passed so fast. It went by, and I don't remember the episode we did last year this time. But I might go back to it and listen to see what the conversation was like and what the expectations were. You get a fresh start to be better than you've ever been. And go make the best of the fact that you're still here. You still have life, which means you still have opportunities, which means you can still change the world, which means you can still have the impact. Which means that you can drive the next revolution or be the catalyst for it. I don't ever ask much of you outside of just be great. And the greatness that you are is based on who you are and not measured against anything else. I'll end this how we started. I am not alive, but I grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. I don't have a mouth, but water kills me. What am I? I am fire. I hope this lights the fire in you. And 2026 is everything and more. Go be great.